Hey y'all, it's your captain for all things creative, coming at you with an Ultimatum South Africa review and conversation. If you are new to this channel, welcome. Please like and subscribe. And if you're returning to this channel, welcome back. You know, we get into a lot of things, and the Ultimatum South Africa had it going on, so we got to talk about it. Now, if you haven't seen the show, this is just a recommendation to go see it. It's full of drama. And just know that it's going to be full spoilers from here on out. So go ahead and log out for me if you didn't see the show. But if you did, let's get into the drama, okay? I'm just going to do a quick overview of all the couples based on what I have seen, and also this Sportskeeda article about it that I'll put a link of in the description. And starting with the healthiest couple, just know that all of the couples, before I get into it, have dated for a while, and one partner wants to encourage the other one to settle down. So there's one person that issues an ultimatum that, they go to the show, and after the process, they're either going to get married or break up. And in the process, they basically swap partners with other people who also issued ultimatums to their partners to see if maybe they could either learn from each other or maybe even learn to like someone else. So in this show, one of the healthier couples that came on the show was Sizakile and Lindile. Now these guys only dated for 6 months, and Lindile was the one who actually issued Caesar, who's in the red, the ultimatum. So she was not ready for commitment. She was, how do we say, in love, but really thinking that she don't need to get married till I think she was saying like her 40s or 50s or something like that. So after they swapped, I feel like Lindile, he claims to have caught feelings for the other person he was with, who we'll see later. But really, I think he was still more jealous, I guess, of what Caesar had going on with Kateko, which we'll talk about. So he was acting like he was in love with the girl he got with after he saw, how his, partner, Caesar Kile, moved on. But at the end of the day, they got back together. So he was in love with her all along, and the experience was good for both of them, I guess, to see what they were not missing out on, especially on Caesar Killer's part, because they ended up back together. So, you'll see that I think they were the healthiest couple. Let's get to the next. So this couple is the one that were the most controversial in a lot of ways. And Kateko is the one that was partnered with Caesar Kile, who you just saw, but he came into the process because Kanya, his long-term girlfriend, I guess of a year, issued the ultimatum to him to act right and marry her. And the way Caesar Kile and Kateko got together was very contentious for both of their partners, because like I said, Lindile, I think, got jealous and acted like he caught feelings for his person, and Kanya got jealous and then just got mean. So she was the overt villain of the show, but I actually think there was a bigger villain who I'll talk about later. But Kanya, body shamed Caesar Kelly. She did a lot of, mean girls kind of thing to the other girls. But she actually had a lot of valid points, especially when she was speaking out against, those kind of manosphere points that were being brought up about, what women bring to the table and those kinds of things. And she had an iconic line where she said she is the table. And after they got back together, Nkateko offered her a promise ring instead of an engagement ring, so they seemed to not want to make it work. But then the internet gonna go dig up and find out that, Kaya was pregnant, and they ended up having a baby boy, and they're, I think, broken up now, but I have to double check that. But we all know that Kanya wanted her baby, and she got it, right? So this is Isaac and Ruth, and Isaac is the one who Kanye was paired with, and I think he is the true villain of the show. So it was funny that the arguably worst woman and the arguably worst man got paired up with each other, and it was all Isaac's fault. But Isaac was dating Ruth before he came to the show, and Ruth was the one who issued the ultimatum. But Ruth came into the show with a whole bunch of reasons to dump Isaac. Again, she gave him the ultimatum, and apparently she never got to meet his family, never got to see where he lived, never was allowed to call him during weird hours. All these signs that she was a side piece or not being taken seriously by him. And then he was disrespectful to her during the show right before the breakup. So Ruth decided she was going to be on her get back life. And when she was paired with Nola, she jumped in with both feet, had relations with Nola, all kinds of things. So Isaac, I guess, thought that he would have just as good a time as Ruth did. But again, he ended up with one of the villains of the show. So he had a horrible time. So he, met his match in terms of, a not so great partner. And he ended up, trying to shame Ruth for having relations with, the person she was matched with after the fact. But I think Isaac wanted, to go further with Kanya. And even on the first couple nights, they were very flirty with each other and they kissed, all kind of stuff. But when Kanya's true colors came out, then Isaac got his karma, basically. And when it comes to the person Ruth was paired with, Nala, here's his story. So Nola or Nala, these names are hard to pronounce, so forgive me, was with Lebo, and Lebo was the one who issued the ultimatum to Nola because she could tell that he was unserious. And again, he proved that he was unserious, by having relations with Ruth and trying to play in her face and act like he was in love with her, knowing that he still did want to be with Lebo the whole time, So at the end of the day, I felt bad for Lebo, and these two ended the process early once she found out that, he was sleeping with Ruth. But you can't feel too sorry for Lebo because she went and got back with him, after the show, only to dump him again at the reunion and actually admit that she was still talking to Isaac, which people glossed over because I think that she was emotionally cheating with Isaac because Isaac apparently knew that she was unhappy, and Nola didn't even know that she was talking to Isaac and didn't know that she was unhappy in the relationship. So at the end of the day, I do feel like Nola's more of a pathological liar, but that doesn't take away from the fact that Lebo was emotionally cheating with Isaac on him. And this brings us to the most boring couple, Courtney and Aiden. Aiden was paired with Lebo. And again, Lebo left the process early, so Aiden didn't really have much of an experience, in the match process. But Courtney was the one who issued the ultimatum to Aiden anyway because he was very unserious. Even though he wasn't cheating and, sexually unserious like Nola, he was financially unserious because he didn't have a job. And didn't want to marry her, I guess, until he settled down. But they ended up getting married, even though Courtney was matched with someone else who was probably more financially responsible than Aiden. And that person was Genesis, who came into the process with Tabby. Now, Tabby and Genesis came into the process together, and Genesis was paired with Courtney, and Tabby was paired with Lindile, right? And again, Courtney came from a relationship where her man had no job, nothing. And Genesis, on the other hand, had money and was making investments and doing all these moves, but was telling Tabby that he didn't think he was financially ready to get married because he had to pay basically like a dowry and all these things to her family. So he felt like he wasn't necessarily ready, to get ready for that financial aspect of them merging their lives together. But at the end of the day, Genesis proved, that he loved Tabby, and, he wrote all the correct letters, to her family, and he was talking about he gonna send all the things that he needs to send over for like the dowry kind of thing. And the two are still together, but they're taking their time going through, the correct process of asking, their families for permission and jumping through the hoops again of like what gifts and stuff have to be paid. And really, we all knew that he was going to get back together with Tabby because Courtney didn't give him the time of day. Courtney didn't even let him sneeze on her for a while. I think the last night she gave him like a little peck and was like, go to bed, So that trial period was really nothing for Genesis and Courtney. But for Tabby, again, Lindile was acting like he was catching feelings for her. Tabby also, jumped in with both feet and emotionally connected with Lindile. But at the end of the day, she and Genesis did get back together, even though they're not married yet. And Courtney and Aiden also got back together. And she actually proposed to him, and while he also proposed to her, but they're not married yet. And Lindile, like we said, went back with Sizakele. So now that we've gotten through, all the couples and like the major goings-ons, I will say that I'm disappointed that not more people are calling Isaac out for being the true villain of the series that he was. You are not going to argue with me. I know Kanya was rude, and definitely in her mean girl bag. I would say of the women, she was definitely, the most problematic. But Isaac is the one who messed up the show in a lot of ways. That is the root of a lot of the problems in the show. So for starters, the matching. Isaac messed up the matching from Jump Street. One, by being rude to Ruth, because when he was asked a question about, how he was, dating the other women and how was he finding this process of going into the trial matches, right? He should have just ate his food and spoke on the women he dated, but he chose that time to make a dig at Ruth and say, he had enjoyed conversation with everybody except Ruth, and this put Ruth in her get back era. I believe that if Isaac had not been as mean and rude, at the beginning, Ruth would not have gone scorched earth and just jumped in fully with Nola like she did. Ruth was the one that brought Isaac to the show, if you all remember. So she was willing to look past all the red flags that he put down by not, introducing her to his family and not letting her call him. And he even had like this weird F-boy math where he's like, we've been together for 2 years, but since a distance relationship, I'm accounted as 8 months. Isaac was the villain even before the show started, right? So again, he put Ruth into her get back era to make her sleep with Nola. Well, he didn't make her, but it really helped her, moved on by, dissing him and getting back at him that way. The other way Isaac messed up the process was when Lebo chose him, because him and Lebo were getting along. Lebo was even going to plan a birthday party for him. He rejected her. I think he was the only man that did that. And he said, nah, I want Kanye. So all the matches were messed up after that, because I believe that Lebo only chose Aiden because he was nice, but really Aiden had all the chemistry with Tabi. So Tabi might have had a chance, at an even better, trial experience if Isaac didn't, do what he did in not choosing Lebo and taking Kanye. But again, that was his karma, because Kanye gave him the blues, from not cooking for him to not washing dishes to cussing him out. He definitely saw what he was missing, and he even tried to go back to Lebo, during the process, and start to get in her ear and in her head. If that wasn't enough, after Lebo left, like I said earlier, he maintained a friendship with Lebo and was listening to her to complain about, Nola. So I wouldn't be surprised if Isaac is creeping on Lebo. And I think part of the reason why Lebo waited to dump him at the reunion was to see if Isaac, was still single or caring about her. And he proved that he cared about her by speaking up for her and saying, "You're not happy, Lebo." So don't quote me, but if y'all find out there was some kind of secret thing between Isaac and Lebo, I would believe it, because Isaac and Lebo were emotionally cheating for sure. How else did Isaac mess up the show? I think those are the main ways, but I'm not gonna keep giving Isaac too much, because Kanye also messed up the show a lot with her big girl ways. But she got off the hook very easy at the reunion. She made the reunion boring by not taking accountability, and the host made the reunion boring by not going after her more. Now, again, part of the reason why I think they didn't go after Kanye, because she was postpartum, she was a mom, and she was in her full I'm a meek person era at the reunion, but she's not meek. Her mouth cashed a lot of checks that, her hands didn't have to cash, thankfully, but Ruth definitely checked her when she tried to shame Ruth about, getting intimate with Nola, because if you rewind back to the show, the first couple nights with Isaac, she was kissing on Isaac. He had put out rose petals and stuff for her. So who knows what them two did, but we saw them kissing and like feeling up on each other. So when Ruth called her out for, being naked in front of Isaac and I guess letting him run her bath or whatever that night, it was a good matchup, because Ruth, was one of the only ones who was not afraid of Kanye. And poor Caesar, she got set up by Nkateko to, try to stand up to Kanye, but really Kanye ate her alive. I was calling her goofy, boom, boom, all kind of stuff. So Kanye really should have been roasted a little bit more at the reunion for how she treated all the other women and even how she treated some of the men. But at the end of the day, I was here for how she stood up for herself against the kind of manosphere vibe of Isaac and some of the men who, again, was asking her what she brought to the table. Because at the end of the day, relationships should be about reciprocity, not about how good of a maid, you could be for your partner. So that's why I don't see Kanye as much of a villain as I did Isaac. But overall, the show was great. You need to watch it yourself, because I'm just giving, my thoughts. And of course, you can put your thoughts in the comments, but always remember, you are the master of your fate and the captain of your soul.